Namaste, Jai Bharat. Nowadays, there are talks more on Iran than anything else in the world. Iran. But let's also try to know how this Persia became Iran, what we see today. Was Iran the same, even in the distant past? Or how Persia became Iran? Iran did not exist in the original times. It was Persia. It was Persia because they spoke the language of Persian or Farsi. And that time, people, those who did not want to have anything to do with Hindus, that's the Muslims, even borrowed the Persian scripts to write the language which we used to speak, Hindi and Kashmiri. And when they became Muslims, their own mother tongue, they wrote in a borrowed language of Persian. And then they named it as Urdu and Kashmiri, etc. Kashmiri was always there. But these people borrowed the script of Farsi and started writing it and gave a new identity because of religion. Where religion becomes really the opium of the people, as Marx has said in a different context, is these kind of things. And what we see today is the same, these kinds of things. Once upon a time, Persia had Zoroastrians, the fire worshipping religion, Zarathustra, and Jews. Next to the population of Israel, the Jews are from Persia. Many others, Christians, and many others were there. But with the coming of Islam, everything became topsy-turvy. It's actually that youngster who was 22, 23 years old, if I'm not wrong, the first Arab invader to Bharat. Muhammad bin Qasim, he was an Arab invader who had invaded Sindh. And the first thing is to convert. Loot, rape, convert. Or rape, loot, convert, whichever was priority. It's for you to judge. Sindh was converted. The first invasion of Muhammad bin Qasim somewhere in 7th, 8th AD. And the Persians were comfortably living. They were also invaded by the radical, I would say today's radical Islam, because we have got better Islams also around us. So let me call it as radical Islams. And they attacked Persia, saying that you are the worshippers of fire. And worshipping fire is nothing new to human civilizations. The Zoroastrians, they worship fire. And look at the Rig Veda. The Hindu's text, no one knows how ancient it is. When was it composed? We can only roughly say it must have been composed when the river Saraswati was thriving. River Saraswati does not exist anymore. River Saraswati got dried up. And people say it still flows as Gupta Saraswati underground. There are many evidences, there are many suggestions to that, and actually evidences to the Saraswati flowing underground. Quite possible scientifically also. When Saraswati river was alive and thriving, that must have been a time, plus minus, not actually, that must be around the time when the Rig Veda got composed. It was not written by one man. It was the experiential expression of Rishikas and Rishis. Got composed remained in our Shruti Smriti tradition, not written. And they had a wonderful language which was synthetically created, Sanskrit, in which you could remember easily. Maximum knowledge can be compressed into few lines. That's why they are called as mantras. Rigveda, they are not called as mantras, they are called as suktas, but same, akin to mantras. It's because knowledge gets compressed into minimum words, and Sanskrit is the most ideal word and ideal language in the entire world, which can speak volumes in very few words. And there, of course, we developed a method of saying more in less vocabulary. That influence, Sanskrit influence, is with most people in Bharat. When we use languages like English also, we have the training helping us. Do not speak more, but speak to the point, complete with less language. Some people are good at it. Not all, of course, but some people are really good at it. For example, it is Rishi Aurobindo. He writes only in English, and that was such deep English. His method is something very close to the Vedic method, Rigvedic method. So, the Rigveda, which is the first ever book of mankind, begins with worshipping of fire. It says Agni Balayo Purohido, and then narrates about the Hotaran, the one who is Agnihotra. So Agni, the fire god, for us it is small g god. It's a Deva, the Agni Deva is one of the principal deities of Bharat. And fire worship was nothing uncommon. Perhaps that is the first worship of mankind. And the Zoroastrians, those who followed the Zarathustrian method of transcending, that's religion is fundamentally the method of transcending, and of course living an appropriate human life. They worship fire. For a Hindu, this is nothing new. They would happily join them when they worship fire. That religion was destroyed. The person's name is the land of Agni was invaded by Umar Khalifa, who is said to be with Muhammad himself, with him as his assistant or details, I don't know, but those who are scholars, they will know much better. And he is the one who invaded Iran. There's a dispute between Shias and Sunnis. Somebody says the Qurayshi tribes followers should be they're the authentic Muslims, so they call themselves as Sunni. And then Muhammad's daughters, husband's children, I don't know what is that supposed to mean. Daughters, husband's children should be daughters' children. That's how I read it. I could be wrong, because these are all just reading. That's not my area of interest. Are the real Muslims? So a lot of details there. That's not my subject here to talk about. So that distinction also remains. Umar Khalifa of his Caliphate, his authority, his kingdom, he is much more than a king. A king is only politically ruling, but the Khalifa is ruling your body and mind. He is politically ruling and supposed to be giving you spiritual guidance. What more authority a person can ever dream of? Leading a community or a nation or a group of people or a society, both spiritually and physically. That person will be complete authority. That's what Omar Khalifa was. Now, the point is what they have done to Persia. First of all, they took the flag of Persia, and in the center they have a lion kind of symbol, original Persians, that they removed and replaced with the Islamic symbol and the inscriptions in Arabic. Then, the Persian language, and Persian language is a language which, as far as we know, from this part of the world, Bharat, they were the ones who translated maximum Sanskrit texts into Persian language. The literature must have been very strong, was definitely strong. Very strong literature, not just their creation. They were great creators, great writers. Apart from that, they had this openness of getting knowledge texts translated from that time's greatest language, Sanskrit. And as if I know, they have translated Panchatantra, Katha Sarisa, etc. Many texts were translated into Persian. There were great Persian travelers coming to Bharat, interacting. They've learned the Sanskrit when you're in Bharat, you learn Sanskrit. There must have been many of them studied in our universities. We had about 7 lakhs universities at that time, this land, and had provided knowledge to the entire world. Such richness the language, Persian language had, Farsi language had, and the Arabs continuously tried their best to substitute the Persian, Farsi language with Arabic. They changed the inscriptions. They changed the language. They changed the school teaching education. Everything had been put into Islamic and everything had been put into Arabic. They left no stone unturned to destroy the original Persian civilization. Then comes the so-called Islamic rule. Then evolves Iran. Persia become extinct. Persia lives in the hearts of people. And that time, the Zoroastrians in 7 ships reached Bharat because they knew about Bharat. Closer was Gujarat, and they reached Kathiawar. They were welcomed by the Hindus. And even now, those Persians, their descendants who came then, who are lovingly called as Parsis, are the most contributing community, if we talk about community within Bharat, to nation building. There are many communities or many parts or many kinds of people in Bharat who contributed greatly to the building of nation. Right from day one and still continues. And the Parsis, given their number, have done greatest contribution undoubtedly. Who is Tata? And such as Godrej. You take these people, industrialists, and their loyalty, they were in the forces. The Parsis who were in the forces have proved themselves in all 3 forces. Nobody, no Hindu ever doubted any integrity of a Parsi. They proved it. They are the Iranians originally. Now they are very Indians, like the Jews. General Jacobs was a Jew in Indian army. Nobody doubts their integrity. Nobody doubts their loyalty. They are with us and with us in capital letters. So the destruction of Persia was at the hands of this radical Islam. I have to say radical Islam because today we have many good meaning Muslims around us who are faithful people, who try to live honest life. There are many. But then these radical Islams are responsible for every kind of things, and they are the ones who keep claiming they are a religion of peace. My God, they are a religion of peace, and they are actually a religion of pieces who cannot coexist. Rigveda's last sukta talks about coexistence of the multiple and plural, sangachatvam samvadatvam. And that is where I come from. And these people talk about peace and they work on pieces. They can't coexist. They have destroyed wherever they have gone. And Persia has been made into Iran by them. And today it is with that Iran Israel is fighting. Iran had next to Israeli population Jews. Where they have gone? What happened to the Jews of Israel? What happened to the fire worshippers, Zoroastrians? Sorry, not Israel, Persia. What happened to the Zoroastrians of Persia? What happened subsequently to the Christians of Persia? Everything has been wiped out because of the fanatic fundamentalism of radicals. It's against that Israel is fighting, and they don't want such fundamentalists to be powerful in the world, be it Pakistan or be it Iran. That's so. Otherwise, with the people, no one has any problem. Let's hope things will evolve. This had been going on for too long a period, and sometime in our onward journey in time, corrections may be needed. This may be one such correction. We shall meet again. Namaste. Jai Bharat. Jai Sri Ram.